Hi friend, it's Pat Sloan here with our April activities challenges, the quilty challenges for April. It's Saturday and looking at our nifty calendar, Saturday the 18th shows Tool Talk. So I went looking around to see, actually I was going to look around and see, oh, what kind of tool have I not used? Because I think that's always useful to look for one that you haven't used. But instead, I was cross-stitching the other night and also looking at doing a little bit of other handwork, some applique, and I realized that my eyes get super tired at night, and all of a sudden I remembered, because I was like trying to pull the lights over and everything. I thought, I remember these clip-on lights that I had gotten, and I had forgotten about them. So today your challenge is to find one of those tools that you've used, but you've sort of forgotten about it. Maybe you used it once, you put away, or you know, maybe even, it's okay if you've never used it, but you forgot you had it. But look around, dig around for that tool that you haven't played around with lately and get it out. So I am going to show you these clip-on lights. They actually are very cool. I mean, I always wear glasses, and I know there's lots of different ways people will try to get good light when the light is dim, you know, in the evening, or for me now as my eyes just get tired, you know, like I actually have some good light or decent light, but if I were looking at it at 10 a.m. it would be fine, but at 9, 10 o'clock at night, my eyes, I would like to do a little stitching, but it's just like they're just too tired out. I don't know what that's from, but the little package, there it is. It comes with 2 clip-on lights. So you get the clip-on lights, and they go on your glasses, which I'll do this. I'll put them on there, but I want to show you how they turn on and off. So there's the lights. I'm not going to shine it right at you, but it's a little push button, and then these rotate. So when you put it, you know, you can then point it however you need to point it for wearing it on your glasses. So they're basically sitting like this. They're going to sit like this, and I can turn them and rotate them. I'm looking to see how that looks. So there is you might find, like when I was using these before a lot, I found that I just needed to wear one, and one was put out enough spotlight for me. So I would turn it on, see there, and then I can just, when I'm leaning down, I can sort of pinpoint it, and it actually kind of goes like this towards what I'm working on. Let me just turn it off. I don't want to shine it right into the camera. That's blind you through the camera. So these are pretty nifty little things. If you are looking for something easy, and it's a pinpoint rather than, you know, whoever you're sitting with for the evening may not want to have you bring in, like, you know, great big giant light. Like I like to have the center of the sun. Like I like to be in bright light, but the other person who lives here doesn't like that so much. And so these are really handy. I actually took them around when we were traveling, so I would use them in hotel rooms and stuff like that, because lighting in there is horrific. I mean, you have to bring a light if you want to do any kind of work in a hotel. I mean, they're just task lighting, and they're just, you know, they're not set up for you to be doing, you know, bright light in your room. It's just not the way it works in a hotel. So there you go. These are my project for tonight, to get them out and play with them again. And so I want to show you another thing that we're going to be working on, which is what will be coming up. And I mentioned it the other day that there's a new stitch along, cross stitch, called, what's it called? Yeah, Feels Like Home. So it's a mystery. So there's a sneak peek. You get to see one part of it, and then the rest of these parts will all be filled in. It is done on, they're using 25 count, and it stitches up then by a 9x9. I am going to use 10 count. So let me show you what I'm going to use. I'm going to use 10 count. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do the burlap or the white, but I am going to use the 10 count because I need the big holes. I'm a baby cross stitcher. And then mine will turn out to be a 12 by 12, which I think will be perfect to make a pillow. So that is my goal, is I will put a little fabric border on it and then make it into a pillow when it's done. So there also are a couple packs of floss. So if you like to just buy a package of floss, this is the recommended color, is kind of the white, but I'm leaning towards the vintagey burlap color myself. And so here are the floss packets. Sometimes that's just easier. They're not very expensive, and then you just get exactly what you need, and you don't have to go rummaging around in your floss. But you can of course use the floss you already own, and so I'll link you up to all that stuff right below the video. This is going to be part of the what the cross stitchers do in May, called Stitch Mania. It's like, oh my goodness. The cross stitchers start a new project every single day in May. It's like, I'm not doing that. But instead, the Fat Quarter Shop said, well, let's do something a little different for May. Let's do a mystery. And I think there's 5 parts to it. I think it's either 5 or 6 parts. So when you buy the pattern, you'll get a link to download the supply list, or it'll be emailed to you. And then when each new part comes out, it'll be emailed to you. So that'll be how it works. So you can get your supplies now. The other thing I'm still loving are these little flowers for winding the floss. I think these are my favorite. I've been trying a bunch of different ones, and I like these best. I don't know why, and so I had to get another packet, because doing the Bloomtopia, the cross stitch, I needed to have a few more of these to put my stuff on. So that is coming up in May. I have another project coming up that you'll hear about next week. Another sew along, which will start a little bit, not in May. I think it starts in June, but I'll be talking about it later in April, once it's all ready to be revealed. So it'll be fun. It's another little sew along sampler, a little bit smaller one than the Baby Charming. So for those of you who didn't get on the Baby Charming and want to do maybe one that's a little bit smaller, and it's super cute. So stay tuned, stay tuned. So I thought I'd answer a question. We had a couple of Q&A questions the other day, and I saved them. So I thought that I would just answer those. So here's one from Mary Alice. So Mary Alice asked, what is the easiest way to avoid, I love how she says this, the easiest way to avoid the dreaded wavy border? You know, if you put your border on and then you lay it and it's like doing this. Okay, there's the reason. If you listened yesterday when I was to my daily video yesterday for challenge 16, I talked about learning the basics and understanding how to fix things, because you know how things go together. So that keys right into this question, the dreaded wavy border. What happens, I think, is where a lot of people, when they first start quilting, they think, okay, I've made this center part, now I'm just going to do a border, so I'll just cut a piece long enough, lay it down, you know, it's a bit longer, so it'll hang off the front end and hang off the back end of the side. I'll sew it down, then I'll lay it and I'll just trim it even. Makes a lot of sense, right? Well, the problem is that's where the wave comes from, because you haven't actually measured it to go exactly on the side. So your side might be, I'll just pick a number, 36, and maybe when you lay that out, you've pulled it a little bit, or you've not got it totally flat, which means that it might have a little extra in there, and so maybe it was actually 37 when you cut it off. So now it's waving because it's too big. It's got extra fabric in there. So what you have to do is you have to actually measure your side. And you also need to be measuring that square in the middle to be sure it's 36 on this side and 36 on the other side. Because if one side's 36 and the other's 37, your quilt is this shape, not square like that, right? So you measure, and if it's 36, you cut a piece that's 36, and then you pin it at both ends, and then pin it at the middle. And there's, then you can pin all between, and it should fit properly. And then there's lots of techniques, which of clothing makers use these all the time to ease in a little bit, like if you're an eighth or a quarter of an inch off, if you start getting more like 3/4 or 3 inches difference, it happens, believe me, it happens, then you can't like ease that in. You're going to have waves. So it's all about measuring. And if you feel like you did measure, then maybe you need to take another look at whether the center is actually square. And whether you measured one side but not the other side. So you cut it for the one side, both borders, but the other side was actually was not equal. So you have to go back and sort of analyze what exactly is going on and what exactly you did. So that's one of the things for the borders. Also doing the, there's one length of your fabric, like along the selvage, that is less stretch on the border than going width of fabric. So if you really want to have very little pull on that border, very little stretch, go the length of the fabric to cut it, which means you have to usually, you have to, buy a little bit more, because that's what you'll need. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if it made sense. I'm sure you can go out and find great videos on that too. There's always somebody who's written a video nowadays, or written a tutorial. You just kind of go out and search it. But it's pretty much a measuring issue, and getting it all measured properly. Okay, the stay-at-home blocks. We are just going along on this quilt. I am so excited. So I showed you this green when I was sorting the green bin, and with the playground with all the little, I think they're all little girls. Yeah, I think they're all little girls. Oh, they're so sweet. I just love them. So when I was little, the one apartment we lived in, we had a playground in our apartment complex. And I spent a lot of time in that playground with my girlfriends and with my brother. So I have really good memories of playgrounds. So I love it. We had a big swing like that, played jump rope and hopscotch. Yeah. I didn't like that jungle gym too much. That was too hard. That's too hard. So have a really, really good day. Have a good evening if you're watching this evening. And be sure to leave me a comment and tell me about your tool that you're going to, your tool talk, what tool you're going to work with today. And while you're down leaving a comment here at YouTube, be sure you subscribe. So thank you so much. I will see you online. Mwah. I love you.